This tutorial will give you a brief introduction on how to use the Pena user interface. Other tutorials will cover functionality in Pena in more detail. When you first run Pena, the user interface will appear on your iPad like this. This primary pane is called the control pane, and it contains icons which allow you to access other panes as well as turn on functionality for the various areas of Pena. The control pane itself can be moved anywhere on the screen. To move the control pane, use the arrow on the left side or the right side. Tap, hold, and drag, and the pane will move and can be positioned anywhere on the screen that you want. The position of the control pane also is independent depending on whether you're holding your iPad in the portrait or the landscape orientation. It will remember its position independently for those two orientations and will put it back in the last place it was used when you rotate your device. The control pane, as I said, allows you to access other panes in the system, and these panes, when accessed, will attach themselves either to the top or the bottom of the control pane, depending on where there is enough room. For example, we'll open up this pane and you can see how it attached to the bottom. If we move the control pane, it now reappears, but because there's no room on the bottom, it's attached to the top. Again, moving the control pane. The various icons in here, as we said, bring up other panes. Some of them will bring up panes, some of them turn on and off functionality. Let's look briefly at some of the panes and what they might do. As I said, these are covered in more detail in other tutorials. The most important pane is our first one in the upper left-hand corner, and it's the program pane. It allows us to program effects that we'll use for painting our brushes, and also program effects that will be used for using the intelligent canvas, teaching the canvas that certain areas are certain types of effects. The intelligent canvas is an extremely advanced area of Pena. It's covered by its own tutorial, as are the brush effects. Next to that, we have our texture pane. Tapping this will bring up the texture pane, and this allows us to load up to 5 textures. A texture can be either a photo from our photo album, or it can be a dynamically created noise texture. Down here we have an extremely important pane. This is our brush pane. Tapping that allows us to set up our brushes. This includes the size of the brush, the shape of the brush, whether the brush is rotating, offset, or tapered, and other factors about the brush. We can also save and load our favorite brushes in this pane. Another important pane is the selection pane. Tapping this will open up your selection options, and these allow you to create areas of interest on your canvas. Also allows you to create text, magic wand for loading selected areas, ability to create masks and invert masks. Masks are used all sorts of places in Pena, as you will see later on. There are other panes. For example, there's a save load pane that allows you to save and load all sorts of facets of your current canvas and what you're doing. There's clear panes and pop-ups and things like that. We'll go into those in more detail in other tutorials. When you want to paint in Pena, you just start painting on the canvas. As soon as you begin to paint, the control pane will disappear, your paint will start being applied, and when you release your finger, the control pane reappears exactly where you left it. The basic idea is to move the control pane out of the way and paint where your region of interest is. But that may not always be convenient. Sometimes you just want to see your entire canvas and be able to paint. In order to do that, we use this icon down here, the eye in the lower right-hand corner of the control pane. Tap the eye, allows you to see the entire canvas, the control pane disappears. Tap the canvas, and the control pane reappears. That's an easy method for you to take a look at your canvas without having that control pane or other panes in the way. You can also paint in that mode. Again, I'll tap the eye to display the entire canvas, and I'll tap, hold, and start dragging to actually paint. As soon as I release my finger, the control pane reappears. You'll notice that on this control pane and other panes, some of the icons have a little blue-green dot in the upper left-hand corner. That dot's a reminder to you that a second tap on that icon will show an options pane. First tap will select the icon, but a second tap brings up some type of option that's associated with that particular pane. In general, options panes aren't always attached to something. They sort of float on top. For example, the color picker is an excellent example. It's not attached to the control pane on the top or the bottom, but floats. Option panes can be dismissed by tapping anywhere. Canvas, any other place on the control pane, all of these will dismiss an options pane. Likewise, option panes are available in our brush effects. I'll give you an example here. Let's pick a procedural source, and we'll pick a 4-color gradient. And this little eye over here allows us to see our options for that particular effect. And again, tapping anywhere, even on the canvas, will dismiss that. Tapping again, and we can start to paint with that particular effect. To close a pane that's a normal pane, like this brush effects pane, there's several ways. One, we can just simply tap the icon again to make it go away. Turn it on, turn it off. Another way is to tap another icon, such as the texture pane, which will close the original pane and open the texture pane. A third way is to tap, but don't drag, the arrow on the left or the right of the control pane. Just tapping it will close all your panes. In general, the pane stays open even while you paint, though hiding itself. So again, if we start painting, all the panes disappear, but when I release, the pane that I had open remains open. This behavior can actually be changed in Pena if you find that to not be desirable. Going into the selection, the settings pane, we can turn on pane auto close. When that is on, and I have a pane open, when I go to paint, it will be closed, and a second tap to the canvas will allow me to start painting. I prefer not to use that mode myself. I prefer to have the pane stay open, so I turn pane auto close off. It is off by default in the paint package. And that is the basics on how we use the user interface in Pena.